11 o'clock according to Apple time, so welcome to the Cabinet meeting. As usual, this is being broadcast live via the County Council's website and will be archived so you can view it afterwards. The meeting is being held remotely with all members joining online. So to start with, I'll do the usual roll call to make sure all Cabinet members can see and hear everyone else. We can see and hear them. I'll do it in alphabetical order. That's surnames, obviously, not Christian names. So first up, Richard Blunt.
Yeah, morning, Chairman. It's Richard Blunt, Adult Social Care Cabinet Member.
Very good. Morning, Richard. Lee Brecken.
Yeah, morning, Chairman. It's Lee Brecken, Health.
Thank you. Blake Payne.
Morning, Leader. Blake Payne, Deputy Leader of the Council.
Right. Trevor Pendleton.
Good morning, Trevor Pendleton, Highways and Transport.
And Waste Management. Byron Rhodes.
Good morning again. Yes, Byron Rhodes, Resources and Finance.
Thank you. Louise Richardson.
Good morning, Louise Richardson, Communities.
Thank you, Louise. Richard Shepherd.
Good morning, Richard Shepherd, working with Byron on Resources and Finance.
Thank you. And Deborah Taylor.
Morning, Deborah Taylor, Children and Families.
Morning, welcome, Deborah. Okay, so just normal things to help the meeting run smoothly. Keep your microphones off and use the raised hand function. I normally say it. I've done that. At the end of the debate on each report, turn your microphone on. If there doesn't appear to be any dissent, rather than going through a vote, I'll just take it that everybody agrees. So the next agenda item is apologies for absence, and I have none. So on the proper agenda, the first item is minutes. These are on page 3 to 12. And I formally move that the minutes of the meeting held on the 15th of December 2020 are taken as read, confirmed and signed. Blake?
I'm happy to second those minutes, Leader.
All happy? Very good. Thank you very much. Urgent items. I have agreed to take an urgent item. It's a report of the Director of Corporate Resources regarding the disposal of land at Lake Terrace, Melton Mowbray. This will be taken at item 13 on the agenda. Agenda item 3, declarations of interest. If you've got any items, please declare it. I'll assume that those Cabinet members who are also members of district councils will want to declare a personal item for the MTFS. So that's me, Rich, Lee, Louise, the other Rich, and Deborah Taylor. I think everybody else isn't on a borough. Blake, you've got a declaration.
Yeah, can I just declare the usual interest, which is a personal interest in terms of taxi transportation and contracts, in that my family are involved in a local taxi company.
Yep, thank you for that, Blake. Forgot you. Hand down then, Blake. Let's move on to the meaty matter, which is the medium-term financial strategy. Years 2021 to years 24-25. This is on pages 13 to 58, and you've got appendix packs for your delectation, pages 3 to 214. So this report sets out our MTFS for the years mentioned. It has been considered by all overview and scrutiny bodies in January, and all their comments are attached as Appendix P. The Corporate Governance Committee met last week and agreed the risk management and treasury management strategies. These are on pages I and N. We're going to ask to approve the MTFS, but only for onward submission to full council on the 17th of February. With us today, we've got Chris Tambini, who's the Director of Corporate Resources, and Declan Keegan, the Assistant Director. They will present the report and explain how it has changed since the draft proposals were put forward in December. I'll then go to Byron Rhodes, who's the Cabinet Lead for Resources, and then to Richard Shepherd, who's also Byron's helper in Resources. So is it you first, Chris, or Declan?
I'm going to introduce it, Leader.
OK, Chris, go ahead.
Right. I'll start by kind of stating the obvious. Given the position of the national finances, coupled with rising demand and costs for our own services, there's no doubt the council is going to be in for a tough few years. And as ever, our position is compounded by our low funding position, and COVID has just, has just added to our pressures. The table of key changes since Cabinet considered the budget is set out in paragraph 28. I'm not going to go through all the changes. I'm just going to highlight one, which is the largest one. Since Cabinet in December, the adult social care precept has been included within the budget. So this adds 3% in terms of council tax, but to be honest, it has really helped our position. We're now balanced for 2 years, and we've also got a little bit of contingency for what is definitely going to be a very tough year ahead. It's also worth highlighting that yesterday we received the final settlement from MHCLG, and there are no changes of any substance that impact on the budget. There's still a few uncertainties over some funding streams, such as highways grants and also public health, but we should hopefully hear about those in the coming weeks. I think the key thing for this budget is uncertainty. As I just mentioned, there's uncertainty over some funding streams. There's some uncertainty over demand for services, uncertainty for how long we remain in lockdown, etc. I could go on. It's probably the most uncertain budget in living memory. We've tried to address this as far as we possibly can with contingency and also with some provision for some of the kind of known issues. I've also mentioned budget pressures, and I think Cabinet are very familiar with many of these because they've been with us for some time, such as the ageing population, the impact of that on adult social care, the increasing number of children in care, the pressures around SEN. The one pressure that is definitely grown in terms of this budget is the pressure in terms of infrastructure spend. The growing population within Leicestershire has a real impact on our budget in terms of the need for new roads, schools, and also social care facilities. And the capital programme is probably the highest we've ever had at 450 million. And that really demonstrates the pressure we're coming under. And there's obviously kind of obvious risks with that level of capital expenditure. And I think it's a pressure that we're going to be living with for some time. I'll end with the positive news. The positive news is we can set a balanced budget for next year and for the year after. And that is without any kind of emergency savings package or any large take from reserves. And the reason we can do that is that we've come into this current year we're in now without any stored up financial problems. And the recommendations are set out on the order paper.
Thank you, Chris. Did you want Declan to say anything, Chris, or not?
Unless he's got anything to say. I know he's on.
Anything to add, Declan?
Nothing from me, Leader.
Thank you, Declan. Let's go straight to Byron.
Yes, thank you for that. Well, I will begin by moving the motion which is on our order paper, which has got section 1 and section 2. Section 2 has got many parts and it goes from A down to R. So there are a lot of issues there which we have to confirm our support for. I think the director has put it very well in the changes that he's outlined since this was considered by the Scrutiny Commission a few weeks ago. And indeed, at that point in time, I did mention to them that we were considering and putting forward a proposal to increase the council tax, not just by the 2%, which was our original view, but by the further 3% for adult social care. And included in our motions today, that is exactly what I am proposing that we should do. Now, of course, that is taking full advantage of the government's so-called concession to be able to do that, but it's an essential measure we have to take in order to have sufficient funds in order to be able to balance the budget, not just for this coming year, which we previously could just about do, but the following year as well, and to provide stability over the 4 years. Having said all that, there are still quite a number of vulnerabilities. We have very little in the way of free reserves, just a county fund, which is just around the 20 million level, and so little scope for when anything goes wrong. And I think the director also mentioned that we're taking a very, very keen interest now and a hard look at our commitments on infrastructure, because those are huge amounts of money, and if anything goes wrong there, we could be in serious difficulties. So at this stage, I'm happy to move the motion, as I said, and of course there will be further discussion of this at the full council on the 17th.
Thank you, Byron. Shall I go to Richard? Shepherd.
Thank you, Chairman. I second the motion. Nothing further to add. The Director and Byron have stated the case very clearly, so I will just formally second the motion, Chairman.
I'll only say a brief few words as leader. Obviously, everybody isn't happy that we're having to increase council tax by the full 5%, 2% for ourselves and 3% for adult social care. But everybody also knows that we are the lowest funded council in the country. And we are, the risks are in the 3 C's. And I know he talks about the risks, which are valid. So our 3 risks are the 3 C's, which are COVID, capital expenditure and care. And we've always promised that we would maintain the care to adults and children, which we continue to do. And we're going into an election standing on our record. The consequences of the massive growth in Leicestershire, which is the capital expenditure, and of course the ongoing very high risks of the global pandemic, which is COVID. So it is with a heavy heart that we go for the 5% overall, but I am willing to support it, and the Conservative group at a group meeting wholeheartedly endorsed our strategy. Anybody else want to say anything, please? No? Well, there's plenty of opportunity. Oh, I can't see. Oh, I can see you now, Blake. Go ahead.
Yeah, sorry, I had my hand up. I just wanted to firstly say well done to Byron, Richard, Chris, Declan and the whole team. I mean, it's pretty amazing that they've been able to put a balanced budget together for the next 2 years, at least, based on the unknowns as already been reported. The other thing I wanted to say is I'm pleased that we've been able to put this budget together in spite of all of the pressures, without detriment to our climate change ambitions and the investment that we're going to need to have to put in to meet our net zero carbon targets by 2030 and 2045 respectively. I think that's a credit to this council. Can I just ask one question of Chris Tambini, if I may, and that is about reserves. How many other county councils do we know are having to use their reserves to balance their budgets in the next couple of years? And if we were to have done the same, how long would we have lost? I'm
going to struggle to answer that, Blake, unfortunately, because we haven't seen everybody's budgets at the moment, so we can't. But I am aware, kind of historically speaking, that a number of other councils and county councils have used their reserves to balance their budget for a temporary basis. I would imagine it would be getting on for about a third of councils have done that over the last couple of years. As well as using reserves, there are other balance sheet kind of ruses you can use to do so. So we are in the minority. We've never, since 2010, actually used any big take from reserves to balance our budget. So I think we are a bit of an outlier.
Frozen again. I'm going to have to leave and read. Whole thing's frozen.
I think we should just give the leader an opportunity to get back online so we can continue the meeting. Otherwise, we'll take advice.
If you just bear with me another minute or so, I'll just check with Lorna to start the streaming.
I have got my hand up as well, if I could just make a comment when we restart as well, leader.
Sure.
I think I'll come into County Hall next time, Nick.
Yes, it works really well here, doesn't it? It works perfectly well at home. And there's nobody else in this room with a computer at all. It must be something to do with the Wi-Fi. Okay, so I'm advised by Lorna that we are now back live. We're still doing the MTFS. So if you experience something bad, we haven't taken the vote yet. And I've got Deborah Taylor to speak.
Thank you, Leader. Welcome back. I just wanted to make the comment just to stress so the public are aware how important it is that we actually set a balanced budget. So for us to be able to do that for the next 2 years is a great achievement to us. And I think no one wants to raise the council tax, but really we've got no other option to it, and the other option of not setting a balanced budget is far worse for the residents of Leicestershire. So I think we just should need to stress that. Thank you.
Thank you, Deborah. I can't see anybody else wanting to speak. So the motion on the MTFS, which refers everything to full council, was moved by Byron and seconded by Richard. Can I just have a show of hands, please? Okay, thank you very much. So the next one we do have is supporting economic recovery in Leicestershire. This is on pages 59 to 102. It sets out actions in response to the impact of COVID. A range of measures are suggested, including participating in the National Kickstart Scheme and further improvements to broadband. For your record, the Scrutiny Commission had the report on the 25th of January. Comments are attached to the order paper marked 5. With us, we've got Simon Lawrence, who's the head of service and major programmes. He's going to introduce. So Simon, hopefully you're there.
Yes, thank you. Good morning, Chairman. The report brings into one place the County Council's ongoing and proposed activity helping to support the county's economy to recover from the pandemic. As you've said in your introduction, the impact of the pandemic is unprecedented, and that damage is immediate and long-lasting, affecting businesses, employment, and particularly the younger generations of businesses in the hospitality sector. The Council's response directly addressed these issues. Paragraphs 23 to 34 set out proposals that would see the implementation of the extended version of the government's Kickstart programme. This would see the County Council offering 12-month instead of 6-month placements to 16 to 24-year-olds, and as well as working with the City Council, supporting SMEs working to do the same. Paragraphs 35 to 45 set out the proposals for Work Plus, a work club programme designed to help all those in the county now seeking work. This would be a universal service run online and through the county's libraries service. Paragraph 46 to 55 summarise the support the County Council has already provided through the £750,000 Business Recovery Grant Scheme and the £150,000 Community Pub Programme. Both these have provided invaluable support to county's businesses looking to survive in these difficult times. Paragraph 56 to 62 sets out the council's ongoing commitment to providing broadband across the county, as this is clearly a core component of economic recovery. Paragraphs 63 and 64 then set out a series of principles against which planned economic recovery activity can be assessed in terms of the County Council's climate emergency declaration. And finally, the report sets out the wider partnership context with reference to the work being led by the Leicestershire Resilience Forum and the Economic Recovery Cell, a coordinated response to the pandemic. The recommendations are as set out on the Green Order paper.
Thank you, Simon. Falls to me to move the recommendations on the order paper. Just a couple of words. I think doing the kickstart for a full year rather than 6 months is good. I know it's expensive, but I think it's well worth doing. I think also we should be kind of proud of our work with the city, because obviously unemployment and employment doesn't respect boundaries of councils, and that goes for districts as well as counties as well as the city. And of course, we need to pat ourselves on the back, really, for the excellent support we've provided so far during the pandemic. It hasn't been easy because, as everybody knows, we're the lowest funded county council in the country, but we've certainly stepped up to the plate to do it. We were the first county council in the country as well to step up to the plate to fund free school meals before Marcus Rashford persuaded the government. So it's all good. I'm happy to move the motion and call Blake.
Many thanks, Leader. It's actually a source of pride that I'm able to second the motion before us today. As you all know, over the last few months, I've done a lot of communication work around this particular programme. And I think the fact that the County Council have been able to look quite closely at some of the aspects that we'll be having to tackle post-COVID, and then try and embed them in some sort of strategy to be able to help people of Leicestershire is, like you say, a credit to us, and we deserve a pat on the back. There's three things in addition to the elements that you've just pulled out that I'd like to comment upon. First is the Work Plus. Before post the financial crisis in 2008-2009, we focused in on the hard to reach adult working population. This time the plus stands for we recognise that there'll be many people that'll be looking to reskill and transition into different careers, and we hope that this programme might offer those people in Leicestershire in that respect. The other point I'd like to make is about the broadband. We've done exceptionally well over the last 6 or 7 years at the County Council. We had less than 56% of premises in Leicestershire connected to superfast broadband. We've now got over 96% of premises, but we still have 4% of premises to meet our 100% total to find. So in that respect, we're going to focus our energies on connecting up mainly the rural areas of Leicestershire and using public infrastructure to be able to aid that. And finally, I'd just like to comment on the green recovery. There have been some benefits in terms of reduction in energy use in the corporate property estate, and also the way we go about our business, hence meetings online and the way we go about conducting our business. And we want to harness that moving forward and make sure that we build back better with a green economic recovery. And we've put resources behind that to achieve that objective. So I think this is a fantastic strategy, one that I wholeheartedly support, and I have no problem in seconding the motion. Thank you, Leader.
Great. Very good, Blake. Deborah, you were first.
Thank you. I just want to make a comment about the Work Plus programme. Fully support that, and I noticed in the papers that the money of that work is going to be done at the LCC run libraries, and I just want to put a note in there for the community libraries to make sure that they're fully supported to help deliver that programme, because not every resident can get to an LCC run library, and also those community libraries have become a real hub of communities now and seen as a very safe place for residents to go. So I want to see them fully supported to help with this work as well, please.
A very, very good point indeed, because most of the libraries now are community libraries. As you say, they're well supported. So that'll be written in the minutes, Deborah, and you've got my assurance. Louise?
Thank you, Leader. I'd just like to congratulate the officers that have been working on this recovery programme and also supporting businesses through COVID pandemic. I'd also like to say how important it is that we do get broadband into the rural areas that are left. We've got businesses out there that still need that support, so I welcome that as well. And the fact that we have managed to extend the Kickstart programme for a whole year, I think will just make those placements more effective, and people can settle into the workplace. So I totally agree with that and very pleased to hear it. Thanks.
Thank you. Richard Shepherd.
Thank you, Chairman. I'm pleased to hear the reference to community libraries. My wife's a volunteering one, so if I need to declare interest on that, I will, but I'm very pleased to hear it.
Very good. Well, thank you for your work, Richard. Right, I have no other speakers indicating, apart from Richard, who's not put his hand down. Can I just take a show of hands on the motion, which was moved by myself and seconded by Blake? Thank you. Very good. The next one is the Scrutiny Review Panel on Flooding. This is on pages 103 to 132. It's made a number of recommendations to us. Luckily for us today, we've got Maggie Wright, who's the chairman of the Scrutiny Review Panel. She's going to present its findings and recommendations. And with her, she's got Ian Veers, Assistant Director of the Environment and Transport. So I'll let Maggie speak first, then Ian, then I'll be going to Trevor. So Maggie, are you online?
Yes, thank you, Leader.
Good morning, Maggie.
Okay, thank you. As Cabinet members will be aware, that this review panel was established in 2020 following the significant flooding events in October and November of 2019. Its purpose to consider the Council's role as the lead local flood authority and its links with other flood risk management authorities and partners. During the review, we looked at the statutory role of the council as the lead local flood authority, and it is clear that this title is often misunderstood by the public as it makes the council appear to have more responsibility and power than legislation dictates. This often led and does lead to unrealistic expectations being raised by members of the public and residents. Ultimately, while the authority can conduct Section 19 investigations into flooding and identify those who may have a role in the flooding incident, the council can only coordinate and work with these partners to encourage those responsible to implement an appropriate solution. Hence, I welcome your recommendation at B, making representation to government to strengthen the legislation. As part of the review, we held 5 meetings, which included interesting and enlightening presentations from officers and partner organisations. We learned a lot about our own highways team and their responsibilities, and we heard from Severn Trent Water, the Environment Agency and the Local Resilience Forum, as well as districts and residents. Residents provided us with some good examples of partnership working and highlighted where improvements could be made. It is acknowledged that there are difficulties due to different priorities and budget constraints, and some prioritisation of recommendations may be necessary. During the review, the government announced a 200 million additional funding for the Flood and Coastal Resilience Innovation Programme, 150 million of which will be handled by the Environment Agency. However, it is clear that this funding spread across 25 local authorities is a drop in the ocean, even with significant sustained long-term investment in flood risk management by the government, the council and other risk management authorities and partners. Not all flooding can be prevented or mitigated against. It is indeed a very extensive and far-reaching topic and can be devastating to our communities and residents who experience the horror of being flooded or being at risk. We saw that flooding across the county is varied and not always linked to rivers and waterways, and it will be an ongoing concern to the escalating effects of climate change and severe weather events. It is therefore important that communities look at their own resilience against flooding and consider how to adapt to climate change. So we recommend fresh communications and engagement to provide local communities with information on how to plan and develop strategies to manage this risk in their areas, including what to do during and following a flood event. We also feel it is important to target communities who have never experienced flooding. We saw those most affected by flooding were those who least expected it. More radical thinking is needed to encourage residents to plan and consider cost-effective ways of protecting their properties in the event of a flood. We hope that members in their role as community champions can help encourage and spread this message within their divisions and communities. Finally, I welcome the review of the flood risk management strategy, which was last updated in 2015, as well as the reinvigoration of the flood risk management board, which we hope will further promote partnership working and enshrine the recommendations and priorities set within the report. In closing, I'd like to thank the officers who facilitated the work of the panel, the members who participated and all the presenters. The Scrutiny Review panel for flooding welcomed this report on the 21st of December, as did the Environment and Transport Overview and Scrutiny Committee on the 14th of January. So I therefore commend the report to Cabinet. Thank you, Leader.
Thank you. Excellent piece of work, Maggie. And you're right that people get confused about our role in this. People think they have a flood and we just step in and repair it. So I'm glad for your explanation of that. Climate change is also an exacerbating factor in flooding. And just myself personally, I've experienced flooding obviously in Breedon, where we've done a lot of good work, Dysart, where we've done a lot of good work, and Packington eventually, where we'll have to do a lot of good work. Ian, did you want to add anything, or shall I go straight to Trevor?
If I could, Leader, just one thing. Firstly, to thank Councillor Wright for chairing such, as she said, an enjoyable panel, and all the members. I think it was enlightening for everyone to look at this matter. For me, water is becoming the difficulty for our residents that road safety and accidents were 30 years ago, and raising its priority to have its own report coming to scrutiny every year, I think will really put this agenda firmly in the department's mind as well as the public. So I thank you, Councillor Wright. Thank you, Leader.
Yep, good work, Maggie. Okay, Trevor, over to you.
Thank you, Chairman. Well, in formally moving all 25 recommendations, I would comment that this is a really very thorough report and an excellent piece of work led by Maggie, and thank both she and the members who have spent the whole year effectively looking at this. The scope of the report is in Part B, paragraph 10, and, you know, it's absolutely leads on to us looking at where we are able to influence, and that, of course, is in planning applications, work on our own highways drainage, and then, of course, in at least work on the flooding events and the outfall to that. We also, of course, undertake Section 19 investigations, and it's as a result of those investigations which I think give us most concern, in that, of course, we're not always the body with the teeth to do anything about what we find, and it's so difficult that whilst people do, as Maggie has said, expect us to mitigate and amend a flood, it's very difficult to do just that when the infrastructure is not right. That said, we should continue to work on developing the county-wide asset mapping and maintenance records, publicise the Reporting It website, and we'll feed back our progress to the next meeting of the Flood Risk Management Board in April 2021. Well, that's me. Thank you. This will not go away, but we are working on it, and we'll definitely do our darndest, Leader.
Sure, thank you. I've got Blake first, and I'm going to go to Byron, then Lee. So, Blake.
Yeah, I'm more than happy to second this, and it's an excellent piece of work, and I thank Maggie for bringing it to Cabinet. I attended the Scrutiny meeting back in January, and I'm actually pleased to say I was the lead member of the E&T department that oversaw the instigation of this particular review, because flooding is becoming, as Ian has just said, as much of a problem as some of the casualty and road safety issues that we have to deal with. Now, of course, a lot of people say with the increasing frequency of floods in and around Leicestershire that the County Council need to do much, much more about it. And I think there's two parts to that. One is the climate change agenda. I think the overwhelming science now supports that the greenhouse gas emissions and climate change are leading to more frequent episodes of flooding, and we're not necessarily able to do something about that in and of itself. However, we do have responsibilities under the Flood Water Management Act 2010 to conduct investigations, and I'm ever so pleased that it's been drawn out not only by Trevor but also by Maggie, that we are limited in our ability to get other water management organisations to hold up to their responsibilities and do something about the causes of some of the instances of flooding in and around Leicestershire. So with that in mind, I'd like to see us hold those organisations' feet to the fire when we do conduct our investigations. We might not necessarily be able to instruct them to do something about it, but we should certainly make it public knowledge that we've identified certain causes and whose responsibility it is to do something about those causes of flooding in Leicestershire. So an excellent piece of work, and I'm more than happy to second the motions on the Green Order paper. Thank you, Chairman.
Great, thank you. Our first speaker I've got is Byron.
Yes, thank you, Leader. I mean, this is for any of us that represent a rural division. We are very conscious of the effects of flooding, particularly in our villages, and much of it nowadays. Some of it is historic, and we can cope with it normally, but sometimes it's complicated when there's been additional development. And our district councils and borough councils don't always fully understand the consequences of that, and will allow development to go ahead with inadequate provision for drainage. And when that happens, and subsequently flooding occurs, of course, the responsibility and then transferred to the county council because it's manifestly is a highway, it becomes a highway problem, and of course we don't always have the budget to do it because just as we don't have enough revenue budget, we don't have enough capital budget either. So it is a growing problem. It's good to have some light shown on all this by the report, and I think Maggie is all credit to her for bringing it forward.
Yes, thank you, Byron. Lee Bracken.
Yeah, thanks, Chairman. Yeah, just say great report, Maggie. I thought you could have had a few more recommendations in the report, but I thought it was really good. It's how a scrutiny panel should operate, so well done. Just to pick up on what Trevor touched on and Byron, really, I think it is the infrastructure going forward. A lot of flooding problems are historic and we are solving them slowly but surely. But I think going forward with some of the major schemes that are coming across the county going forward, we do have to make sure that linking is there with the infrastructure and with the planning authorities to make sure that we do get it right going forward and protect Leicestershire from further and future flooding. So thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Lee. I mean, you just mentioned it in passing, but obviously going forward, the links with planning authorities on all manner of levels are absolutely crucial. Okay, so it was moved by Trevor, seconded by Blake. I have no other speakers. Can I just take a show of hands? And thank you, Maggie, for your work. As everybody said, excellent piece of work. And the next one you're staying for as well, Maggie, I think. So agenda item 7 is the Hinckley National Rail Freight Interchange, pages 133 to 134 and the supplementary report. It concerns the proposals for the National Freight Rail Interchange off the M69 in Blaby district. I think it's all actually in Maggie's division. A supplementary paper setting out our position of this was circulated yesterday. Can we note we've had comments from a whole bunch of Liberals in Hinckley Bosworth, Mr. Bill, Mr. Bray and Mr. Mullaney. These are attached to order paper marked 7. Maggie is the local member, and Maggie has asked to say a few words on this. I'm going to take Maggie first, then I'm going to take Simon Lawrence, Head of Growth Service and Major Programmes, to present the report. So Maggie, do you want to go first? And then when Simon said anything, as you're the local member, I'll let you come back. Go ahead, Maggie.
Yes, thank you, Leader. I agree with the council's concerns regarding this proposal. I mean, this is a very unpopular proposal with my residents, and we feel under siege and overwhelmed by everything that is being considered and planned within our communities. Clear, transparent engagement is essential. There are numerous local concerns regarding the rail freight interchange, but I'll contain my comments relevant to the report regarding road and infrastructure networks. This proposal is for a national rail freight interchange operating 24/7, but to date gives no detail of freight distribution to justify such a project. Is it a rail freight interchange or just a warehouse distribution centre under policy to justify it? The National Policy Statement on National Networks 2014 states the rail network should be sustainable and should be designed to minimise social and environmental impacts and improve quality of life. There is no evidence that this project will do any of those things. This proposal is massive. It covers 185.43 hectares of a greenfield site which abuts the beauty spots of Burbage Woods and the amenity of Burbage Common. There are, I'm sorry, I've lost my spot. There are proposed, this area will come imposing warehouses and giant sheds reaching heights of 36 metres. It will have an overwhelming impact on the local transport network and the local communities known collectively as the Foss Villages, but will also create an enormous ripple effect of impacts on other surrounding communities such as Burbage, Hinckley, Barwell and Earl Shilton, but also Narborough and Littlethorpe because of the level crossing closure times. Highways infrastructure mitigations will need to be far-reaching to protect against road impacts and associated problems, such as traffic and pollution being major concerns. However, we are 2 years on from this proposal first being raised, and we have no real details going into a consultation period. More concerning is the submission date of September 2021 to the Secretary of State. Even a recent scoping document submitted to the examiner highlights that only a very brief description of the proposed development is given. It is therefore difficult to identify risks and put in mitigations when these details are absent. It is stated that the intention is to bring in 4 trains a day from Felixstowe, which is coincidentally the minimum requirement by legislation for a rail freight interchange to operate. But there is no evidence that this will actually be the case. It is not clear what percentage of incoming traffic is represented by these 4 trains. We don't know also what percentage of outbound traffic will leave the site either by road or rail. There are no design parameters. There is no information regarding the nature and scale of the proposed highway works, nothing about M1 Junction 21, nothing about the potential Sapcut Stony Stanton bypasses, which would be essential, nothing regarding the impacts on tributary roads and main trunk roads. There is no assessment. I'm sorry, Leader, my technology is playing up as well. There is no assessment regarding the increase of rail transport and operational growth impact. There is nothing regarding the promotion of low carbon transport choices or a policy regarding all electric vehicles using the interchange. Are there going to be ultra low emission vehicles? The government have committed to this. Will this site? How will the proposed 8,400 workers access and leave the site? They won't all be local due to the low unemployment rates in the area, even after the effects of COVID, and will not be able to walk or cycle there. I feel the timelines given by the developer are unrealistic, and to ensure comprehensive modelling and assessment to take place, we need more time. I agree with the Council's position in relation to this report and would be happy if an objection was made regarding the infrastructure implications, but feel there are so many other objections to be made on a number of issues regarding this proposal. I do hope the Council going forward does engage with Blaby District to assess all these outstanding matters, but please continue to engage with residents as well. I thank you, Leader, for the opportunity to comment on this paper.
Thank you. Before we call Simon, you're a fantastic advocate for the area, Maggie, so I think people need to rest assured that you're batting for their corner. Yes, of course we want to keep you on side and work with you, and of course we want to work with Blaby. I have got Simon now, and then if Simon says anything, Maggie, you can come back.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning again. Councillor Wright has very expertly articulated the issues associated with this report, the purpose of which is really to bring to the Cabinet's attention that the developer, Tritaximity, intends to submit a proposal for the Hinckley National Rail Freight Interchange to the National Planning Inspector in September of this year. The report sets out the concerns associated with this timetable, which includes that there's clearly inadequate time for this council to properly assess the impact of such a significant proposal, and that there's inadequate time for proper consultation to take place with those affected communities that Councillor Wright's referred to, but also neighbouring councils, Blaby District Council, of course, in which it sits, but also Highways England and other key players within this proposal. The report, and as Councillor Wright referred to, also expresses concern regarding the developer's current proposals in relation to highway mitigation. Thorough modelling and assessment will be required before this council is in a position to take a view on such a significant project. The recommendations set out in the paper look to address these concerns and are set out on the Green Order paper. Thank you, Chair.
Are you happy with that, Maggie?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, well, it falls to me to move the recommendation. So you've got recommendations starting at 2 and they go A, B, C, and the reasons across the page. Can I just make a small amendment to item B, which will help Maggie? And instead of the word where it says the council's '(s) likely to object to the proposal, I want to strengthen it and say the council will object to the proposal. I think that'll help Maggie with her campaign, because unless they tell us what we're doing down there, we can't seek to ameliorate the issues at all. So I think strengthening it with will give it more weight. So I'll move that, and then I'm going to go to Blake, and hopefully he'll accept my will instead of likely.
Firstly, well done to Maggie, an excellent advocacy of the issues at stake here. And of course, Leader, I will most certainly accept your amendment to the motion, and in doing so, I will formally second the motion. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, Maggie, you've said everything I think that needs saying, because nobody else wants to say anything, and everybody type of agrees with you. So can we take a show of hands on the motion, moved by B, seconded by Blake? Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, Maggie.
Thank you.
Moving on, agenda item 8, which is the revised corporate asset investment fund strategy from 2021 to 2025. This is on pages 135 to 196. It seeks our approval of the CAIF, as we call it, for the period indicated. It also advises about an independent review of the strategy, which was carried out by Hymans Robertson recently. For your information, the Scrutiny Commission looked at this at its meeting on the 25th of January, and its comments are attached to the order paper marked 8. With us, we've got Chris Tambini, Director of Corporate Resources. We've got John Bennett, Head of Strategic Property. They will present the report, and then Byron has the lead on this, so I will go to Byron straight away. And then I'll ask Richard to speak and second it. He also serves on the CAIF. So are we doing you first, Chris?
You are, yes, Leader.
Okay, go ahead.
The CAIF strategy is usually a pretty dry document with objectives, legal context, acquisition process, etc. And this document contains all that kind of content, and there's been no changes really to the way. However, as you mentioned in introduction, we have taken the opportunity to review the operation of the CAIF. We've been
I'm trying to put something on screen.
In 2014.
Yes, Chris, put your little microphone down. Your sound's not good.
Oh, apologies.
Better.
Yeah. So, as you said in the intro, we've taken the opportunity to review the CAIF. It's been operating since 2014, and given COVID, Brexit, etc., we commissioned Hymans Robertson to do a review of the investment strategy. I'm going to focus my comments on the outcome of that review. But before I do so, I just think it's worth mentioning that there's no doubt that COVID has had an impact on CAIF, on the CAIF performance. But so far, to be honest, we are weathering the storm fairly well. We're not complacent, and there are risks. And I've also got John Bennett in the line of members wanting to get into anything on terms of the current performance, but we are kind of doing okay this year. In terms of the outcome of the review, the key findings are set out in paragraph 26, and I'll go through them. So they've recommended that we invest in direct property assets should be focused more on industrial distribution and logistics sectors. That's pretty much in line with what we were doing already. They've said investment in office and rural sectors should be maintained at current levels. They've not mentioned retail, and the reason they haven't really mentioned retail is it is a sector that we've steered clear of in the past, and clearly we're not going to go into that sector at the moment. They recommended the investment in poor property sectors should be reduced over time and funds reinvested in more attractive areas, and they've also mentioned that we should maybe increase or maintain our current weighting towards private debt. In terms of the pool property, some of those funds are time limited, so funds will return naturally, and when they do, we'll take the opportunity to look where we reinvest that money. They've also said that we should also look at investing in infrastructure and renewables, either directly or through pooled investment vehicle, and also consider the residential market as well. We'll do some more work on all those recommendations over the coming year. I don't expect there's going to be any immediate changes, and in any event, any new investments we'll always bring back to Cabinet before we actually enter into those investments. The recommendation is set out on the order paper.
Yeah, thank you very much, Chris. It's just a good job we haven't invested in airports, airlines, or retail. Otherwise, we'd be well up the creek. Shall I go straight to Byron, and then if John needs to say anything, he can come back. Byron.
Yes, I think we should be quite pleased with the choice of investments we've made, and as the director said, we've avoided retail, which would have been higher yielding but contained risk, as we always knew, and so we're not exposed there. And of course, as you say, with the question of investing in airports hasn't actually arisen, but we're not exposed there either. But we wouldn't have foreseen what was going to happen. However, where we are invested to a considerable extent, of course, and long term, this arises from the more than a century holding considerable agricultural land holding around Leicestershire in small parcels of land and small farms, which was created after the First World War. And we still own a considerable proportion of that original estate, although a certain part of it now we have disposed of, and very often we've been able to dispose of it in such a way for development and make a considerable capital gain as a result. And we still have plenty of parcels of land left where that might happen. To an extent, we've also replaced that from time to time when opportunities have arisen, particularly with marriage value, when agricultural land becomes available, which we can combine with what our existing holdings, which would produce potentially a more valuable asset. The other thing which we've done rather pleased about is the investments we've made in the commercial world, particularly in providing what's often referred to as just as sheds, but varying size workplace units. And of course, we've got the investment in Colville and a further one in Harborough as well, but both of which have done extremely well and are almost fully let, particularly the one in Harborough. Is built to a very, very high standard, and clearly we could in the longer run look for more opportunities of that nature, and they seem to do very well. We are certainly talking and looking very hard at doing something in the Lutterworth area, as you know. So overall, we can feel comfortable with it. The Scrutiny Commission, I think, did quite a debate on this at their meeting. There were a number of views raised there, and in particular, I think there are members on that Scrutiny Commission from the other parties who would see political advantage in using our investment monies to pursue their particular objectives. I think we stand back from that sort of thing, because what we always must be concerned about is that this is an investment fund to protect our overall ability to derive income from monies which we have to hold for the ultimate repayment of or ultimate payment of liabilities in the future. And therefore we must always look for security of investment and security of yield, whilst always ensuring that we stay within our values, of course, in the investments which we choose. So I don't fully agree with everything the Commission have said, and indeed nor necessarily with the people who are advising us. They're wanting us to get into the housing market, which I think might actually be quite difficult for us to do. So we'll take a very long look at that if we do make any moves at all. That's not to stop us investing in housing to support disabled people in small units, which we're doing already through our adult social care programme. But overall, we'd be very cautious in that. So yes, I'm very happy with the review that's taken place, and we'll move forward from that. And of course, the board will look at every investment before it's made, as you know. So I move the motion on the order paper, the three parts to it, that will note the comments of the Scrutiny Commission and the outcome of the review, and then we'll move forward for to continue to manage the corporate asset investment fund in accordance with the rules laid down by the council and agreed, and to the advantage of the security of our future financial strategies.
Thank you. Richard Shepherd.
Thank you, Chairman. I second the motion, just emphasising the point Byron made last about securing the future of our strategy. It's an important income stream for the council. Thank you, Chairman.
Yes, well, just a couple of further words from me before we take the vote. I mean, the investment you've made in Colville, Byron, from my experience, it not only provides us with a good return on the investment, but because they're smaller units out there, you've really helped with, a small, well, when I say small to medium local businesses who have been keen to get their fingers on those units there. And then the final thing to remember for the general public is this isn't just about investment for investment's sake. This corporate asset investment fund actually generates a £7.1 million surplus which supports our day-to-day spending, and without that 7.1 million we'd be having to increase council tax by yet another 3% in the round. So I think you've done a damn good job, Byron, and your team. I can now see Blake's wanting to speak, so we'll go to Blake.
Yes, Leader. I just wanted to add that the County Council has a diverse portfolio of property and investments. And what's remarkable about the investments in Harborough and other areas is that we're seeking to diversify our portfolio across the county. But moreover, we're seeking to support jobs and the local economies in the components of the county. And I think the investment into the Harborough area is a prime example of that approach. And once again, I think the County Council should be credited and commended for taking that approach, because what's different about our approach is that we haven't necessarily gone out and used Public Works Loan Board borrowing to achieve this. There are many smaller authorities up and down the country that have borrowed hundreds of millions of pounds in some instances. And I know the government's taken action recently to stop that practice, but we have used internal resources very prudently on a Treasury management strategy to invest in these assets, which has the dual benefit of supporting the local economies. And as you say, bringing vital revenue into the County Council to support frontline public services through our revenue fund. So I'm very, very happy with the report, and I commend and congratulate Byron and his team for what they're doing in this respect.
Great, thank you for that, Blake. So it was moved by Byron and seconded by Richard Shepherd. All in favour? Perfect. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, John Bennett. You weren't needed, but thanks for your work. 9 is technology-enabled care. This is on pages 197 to 238. It presents the business case for transforming our approach in using technology-enabled care across the council's adult social care services. The Cabinet is asked to agree to the procurement via a strategic partnership with Hampshire County Council, who I understand are the best county council in the country, for this issue anyway. We've got John Wilson, who's the Director of Adults and Communities, with us, and Nigel Thomas, his assistant. They're going to present the report. Then I'll go to Richard Blunt, who leads on this matter. So is it you, John, or Nigel?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I'll just briefly introduce and then hand over to Nigel. So as you know, over the course of the last 18 months, as a department, we've been working with an external partner to implement a new operating model on the basis that improving outcomes for local people would lead to productivity gains and efficiency savings. We brought a report to Cabinet in December of last year on the successful completion of that work, but we now wish to develop a further strategic relationship with an external partner on that same basis, that improving outcomes for local residents would lead to a more efficient way to deliver social care services. This time the partner is Hampshire County Council, and we want to work with Hampshire to increase the use of technology-enabled care. Our current offer to residents is both traditional in nature and fragmented in delivery. It's largely analogue based, and it's not fit for a move to a digital age. So technology can help people take control of their care. It can help people to personalise care in a way that meets individual health, housing and care needs. It joins up care, and it provides people with a way to transform the way that they receive their care and support. But the technology itself is just a tool to provide people with care. It's a means to an end. It's not an end in itself. We don't see technology as a replacement for care, although it might be for some people, but more as a means to deliver care alongside other forms of care and support. So I suppose put simply, tech is a way that enables people to live independently for longer. I'll ask Nigel now to take members through the detail of the report and the proposals that we're putting forward this morning. Thank you.
Thank you, John, and good afternoon, everybody. So as John said, tech in this context is technology simply that's used by people. And as he said, we can assist people to live more independently for longer. In the past 5 years, we've seen a rapid increase in the availability and sophistication of tech in relationship to health and social care. But as John said, many authorities maintain traditional methods of using tech, often based around lifeline monitoring systems, and don't really offer a holistic end-to-end solutions at the heart of their care offer. So to better understand the opportunities for the department, we did undertake a diagnostic exercise in partnership with Hampshire County Council to assess and evaluate our current offer, identify where there were opportunities to transform practices, and to ascertain if there was a strong financial case for transformation. And we know that Hampshire County Council have a strong track record in this field and work themselves with a technology partner. The diagnostic report is attached as Appendix A of the report and is summarised in paragraphs 29. But in short, the findings are that there is an appetite and opportunities for transforming services and avoiding cost, building an offer around achieving people's outcomes and not installing tech for tech's sake. In analysing the potential benefits of the proposed approach, Hampshire set out a number of scenarios that show net benefits of between 2 to 5 million over a 5-year period, and these are detailed in Appendix A and summarised in paragraph 33 of the report. Consequent to that, a detailed business case, which is attached as Appendix B, has been developed using the outputs from the diagnostic, focusing around the option to develop and commission a county-wide transformation approach, establishing a county-wide service with the responsibility for driving tech change with a brokerage partner to source tech based on people's outcomes. And the recommendation is that the council continues to work with Hampshire as the partner because of their experience and established knowledge. Paragraphs 48 to 51 detail the resource and financial investment required to progress the recommended option, and the financial benefits are achieved largely through cost avoidance and are based on an increase in the number of service users offered tech as part of a care package over a 5-year period, and assuming a reduction in commissioned care package costs of those with tech installed. For the business case, a saving at the lower end of the diagnostic findings has been assumed in the interest of prudency. It's anticipated that the requirement investment of this will be sourced in part through improved better care funding and saving in the cost of care packages commissioned, which will offset any additional investment costs. So the recommendations are set out on 9 of the order paper. Thank you.
Thank you. Richard Blunt.
Thank you, Chairman. It might seem a little bit dry in detail, but this is a good news story. I mean, as you know, Chairman, we're facing increasing demand for adult social care, and that's going to continue year on year on year. So unless we do clever things like this, we'll run out of money. And that, as we all know, is not how we operate in Leicestershire. There's 3 good things, really. It will help our staff do their job better. It'll help, I think, give better outcomes to our customers. And as we've heard earlier, it'll give a saving of between £2 and £5 million. It's a little bit like the target operating model. Very dry in terms of when you hear it as a report, but the ability to make savings and do our job better is really good. So I'm really pleased about this. And I think I'm also pleased with working with Hampshire County Council. If you find any organisation that's done it already and done it well, working with their partners, PA Associates, it's a really clever way of doing it because we don't need to reinvent the wheel. So it's really good. I'm happy to move the recommendations on page 197, John.
Thank you very much, Richard. Let's go to Deborah.
Thank you. I think we've all seen over the last year how technology can be of a great assistance to all of us to do our jobs and our leisure time and being connected to each other. I did note in the report that the payback time for the investments is within 1 year, and that really works against hitting our mark of the County Council strategy plan of working together for the benefit of everyone. I think this gives us a real opportunity to improve the well-being of everyone through enabling people to take control of their health and well-being throughout their lives and be as independent as possible. And I fully support this proposal, as tech can play a huge part in improving user outcomes, and I'm very happy to formally second this motion.
Thank you for that, Deborah. Excellent piece of work, Richard and team. Blake, I think your hand's an old hand, isn't it? Okay, so we have no other speakers. So can I ask for hands, please? Moved by Richard, seconded by Deborah. Thank you. Thank you, John. Thank you, Nigel. Let's go to 10, which is the Local Government and Social Care Ombudsman report regarding nursery charges. This is pages 239 to 254. It was a complaint to the Ombudsman about the Council's administration of the Free Early Education Entitlement Scheme. So first of all, I'm going to call Lauren Haslam, who's the Director of Law and Governance, And with us we'll have Jane Moore, who's the Director of Children and Family Services. They'll explain the issue, but I think we generally all know about it. Then I'm going to go straight to you, Deborah. So, Lauren, do you want to kick off?
Thank you, Leader. I think actually Jane's going to lead off on this report with an introduction, then I'll pick up the Ombudsman issues after she's done her presentation.
Very good. Jane?
Thank you, Leader. So the purpose of this report is to advise the Cabinet of a report of the local government Ombudsman in relation to the investigation of a complaint against the County Council. Just by way of background to the complaint, the LGO has investigated a complaint made by a parent of a nursery age child concerning the council's administration of the free early education entitlement scheme, and that scheme entitles children of specific ages to receive up to 30 hours a week of fully funded provision for 38 weeks of the year. The council's duties in respect of administrating the fee scheme are mainly set out in statutory guidance, and the council is required to have due regard to the terms of the statutory guidance and is only permitted to depart from the provisions if it has good reason to do so. The complainant considered that he was overcharged and alleges that he was required to subsidise or top up the free early childcare element, which was not, in his view, genuinely therefore free. The Ombudsman doesn't ordinarily have jurisdiction to make findings in relation to private companies. However, because the operator was delivering a statutory scheme funded by the County Council, he scrutinised the invoices of this company and held the council responsible for the shortcomings in their charging arrangements. So the LGO has found in favour of the complainant in this respect and found that the invoices did lack clarity and transparency, such that it wasn't possible for the complainant to see whether he had received his child's free entitlement. I'll hand over to Lauren now, who's going to go through some more of the detail. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, as James mentioned, the rest of the report really relates to the findings made by the Ombudsman, that in particular the finding of fault by the way in which the Council had administered the scheme. And as you'll see from the report, the Ombudsman made a number of recommendations as a result of that finding. The Council's complied with the recommendations at paragraph 15C, A to C of the report. Those are those that relate to the complainant and to the particular provider in question. And it's important to note that so far, at least the investigations that have been undertaken with that provider have identified no further concerns in relation to the provision and the way in which it has been operated. The Council's engaged with the Ombudsman to advise of the steps that have been taken and the detailed revised charging guidance that the Council has issued. There are wider implications in the recommendations made by the Ombudsman, particularly in relation to the requirement or the recommendation to review invoicing and charging at all providers. The Council, through discussions with my office and the Director, are concerned about the proportionality of that. We believe that many of the issues that have been identified can be addressed through the work that has been undertaken and the issuing of revised charging guidance, and we're mindful, of course, about the proportionality of a review of the scale suggested by the Ombudsman. It's important to bear in mind the general principles that engaging with providers, the Council expects that they will operate in accordance with the statutory guidance that the Director has referred to. Because this is a public report and that's generally issued in cases where the Ombudsman considers there to be a wider issue, perhaps even of national importance, it flows from that public reports have to be presented to members, and that's the purpose of the report today, to bring it to your attention and to advise of the steps that the Council has taken so far and intends to take, subject of course to any views that Cabinet may have today in light of the recommendations that have been made. There are 3 recommendations and they are as set out in the Green Water Paper, Leader. Thank you.
Thank you. Deborah?
I don't think there's much more I'm really asking. I mean, I understand the parents' view. If you get an invoice and it's not clear that you're receiving your free entitlement, then that needs to be clear, and that the council has an obligation to ensure that all our free early education entitlement is delivered completely free, and ensure that nurseries are providing clear and transparent about what charges they're making. As you've seen, the council's accepted the findings and we've taken steps to ensure this can't happen again, and we've issued charging guidance to all our nursery providers in Leicestershire to make sure that they check how they're sending invoices to parents. And I think just one point to add, this is more of a national issue rather than one that is unique to Leicestershire. So I think the ruling is to make sure that across the country that all nurseries and councils are sure they're clear with their invoicings. And I'll move the recommendations on the order paper.
Good. I agree with you as well, Deborah, so I'll second it. I've no other speakers. All in favour? Thank you. Thank you for that comprehensive explanation. 11. Leicestershire's policy on admissions to mainstream schools. Determination of admissions arrangements, pages 255 to 324. It is what it is. So what we've got with us today, first of all, we've got Ozzy O'Shea. He wants to say a few words, so welcome, Ozzy. And then once we've done Ozzy, I'll go to Jane Moore, Director, and David Attenbury, and then I'll go back to Deborah. So, Ozzy, if you're there, you're on.
Thank you, Leader. This is within my ward, and I'm very concerned that we're looking at reducing child places. Unfortunately, the ruling council at Hinckley and Bosworth administration of Liberal Democrats have decided to put 258 houses in Ratby over the next 2 years or so. Now that was been granted this year. I've been working with the developer because we're having problems. There are two different sites, and there's 168 affordable houses that are in the process now of being built. The first ones will be occupied in July. Now, we just do not have the education facilities in Ratby to cope with this, and the children are being diverted to Gruby. I am very blessed with having wonderful schools both in Ratby and Gruby. They're all excellent, with excellent head teachers. But I am struggling to see how we can cope if we're reducing the class sizes for the incumbent families that are coming into Ratby that have been actually, put on to our village that we cannot cope with. Thank you, Leader.
Very good. Thank you, Ozzy. Very concerning. So shall we go to Jane Moore first, or David Attenbury, whichever one, Jane?
Leader, I'll go through the report if that's okay, then hand over to David to address Mr. O'Shea's comments directly. Sure. If that's okay. So the report that we're bringing to you today is to advise of the outcome of the consultation on the reduction of the admission number at Martinshaw Primary School, Gruby, and that's for entry from September 22. But also to seek agreement to reduce the admission number. So therefore to seek to reduce the admission number from 45 to 30 pupils from reception, which will then work its way through the school. The Cabinet's also advised that there are no changes or revision to the Leicestershire school admission policy and other things listed in paragraph 2, since these were agreed last at Cabinet in February 2020. So just by way of background, Leicestershire's current admission policy was agreed by Cabinet in February 2020. At this time, it was indicated by the DfE that a new national school admissions code was imminent, as the current code has not been revised since 2014. The DfE has now completed its consultation on the national code, and once the new code is released, which is now expected to be this summer, the admissions policy will be revised and the mandatory changes will be adopted. So in relation to the proposed admission number change at Martinshaw Primary, the only change proposed to the current admissions arrangements does relate to this reduced admission number. The local authority is seeking to reduce this number from 45 to 30, and this is in response to significant forecasted drop in birth from within that school's catchment area. The council did undertake a consultation exercise on the proposed change to this amended admission number, and the results of this are set out in paragraphs 18 to 21 below. The proposed reduction of the admission number is based on the local housing position and also the population projections. But if at any point in the future the admission number at Martinshaw Primary needs to be increased, the law does allow the council to make those changes immediately if required. So you can see from the paragraphs 18 onwards, it outlines the comments and received back in the consultation. There was a total of 16 responses received, 75% of which indicated support for the reduction. So in terms of just a quick response to those consultations, of the 3 respondents that disagreed, 2 were concerned about the future housing expansion in the village. And there is still some capacity in other local schools to meet that demand. And it should be noted that any future large-scale housing development in the village, and there isn't any planned at present, would also be expected to secure funds for that further school expansion. Officers in the department will continue to monitor both births and housing gains and would raise the number at Martinshaw if it was required. So I'll move to the recommendations as set out in the green order paper and hand over to David to comment on the response given to Mr. O'Shea. Thank you.
Okay. David?
Thank you, Leader, and thank you, Jane. By way of assurance to Cabinet and to Mr. O'Shea, it is an important matter that he raises. I would say that we've looked very carefully at the pupil forecasts for the future years and also at the potential for housing growth in both the Martinshaw catchment and the other 2 primaries in Groby, and that one indeed in Ratby. What I would say is that based on what we can see, there is no housing planned within the Martinshaw catchment over the next few years. But what we can see is that at any one time, the school would have capacity to take another 75 to 90 pupils. So there is plenty of surplus capacity there. It's important that Mr. O'Shea, though, also raises the Ratby question, and he will know that there are 2 developments in Ratby, one on the Springfield Riding Stables, which has approval for 168 homes, and another one pending off Markfield Lane for a further 90 homes, which has yet to receive approval. There are some surplus places at Ratby School which will help mitigate the impact of that, but indeed Martinshaw is within statutory walking distance of those developments, so if need be, then we'll have those surplus places there as a fallback position. Thank you.
Ozzy, anything to add before we go to Deborah?
Yes, just one thing, just a point of clarification. David said that the 90 houses on the same road, which is Markfield Road, had yet to be approved. Let me just tell you now that ruling administration has approved those 90 houses, so that I have 258 houses on that road, and the majority will have to walk or drive, because in the winter they won't, to Martinshaw. It's just a point of clarification, but I am, really concerned with the amount of houses that have now been passed in my ward.
Yes, I think it's bad. I don't think it's a particularly good administration down in Hinkley Bosworth at all at the moment, Ozzy. Let's go to Deborah.
Thank you. Just to say the admission policies have just had a few tweaks, but nothing major. Just to address those issues that Ozzy's raised, I think I understand his concern, and he's very rightly concerned about housing development and the pupils that are come for them. But obviously we need to take into account there's a risk that the school could fall into a negative budget position, which would be even worse of a position for the school to be in. So I think it's trying to get that balance right. And as already been pointed out, if there is a need to extend that, we can do that straight away. But I think in this interim period, we need to protect the school, make sure it's financially secure, but there's a possibility that we can expand it again if need be. So just to reassure Mr. O'Shea that we're fully aware of the issues and we are able to take action where needed. And I'm happy to move the motion.
Excellent, and I'll second the motion. So Ozzy, you need to get your hand down. I can't see any other speakers, so can I have a show of hands for the motion? Should have.
It seems that we've lost the leader again. Jenny, can you advise as to what's happening?
I'm just messaging for some IT support, Mr. Payne. I think there's somebody down there, so if you can just pause for a couple of seconds and we'll get that sorted.
The camera again. I seem to be having technical difficulties. Anyway, let's move on. So we did vote on that for anybody that missed it, and it was approved as per the recommendation. So if we go to the next item, is items referred from overview and scrutiny, and we don't have any. Item 13 is the item which I've decided to take as urgent. So we're going to get a report from the Director of Corporate Resources regarding disposal of land at Lake Terrace, Melton Mowbray. So we've got John Bennett, who's our property guru, here to walk us through it, and then I will speak. So John, are you on?
Yes, Leader.
Great, go ahead.
Hear me okay?
John.
Great.
Yes, go ahead.
Good morning, all. And the paper I'm presenting that's before you this morning is not something that would normally come before Cabinet, given it's a fairly small parcel of land and would normally be dealt with under the standard delegation rules with regard to disposal of land. However, it is the circumstances by which the land may be disposed of, or the requirement for the land to be disposed of, that is something that Cabinet needs to give consideration to. Excuse me. It's indeed unfortunate that the necessary inclusion of some county land in a delivery of our housing scheme only came to light through an article in the Melton Times at the end of last month, which referred to a Melton Borough Council cabinet meeting and subsequent decision that we had neither knowledge of or any ability to input into or provide any property advice ourselves. After reading the press article, we contacted the developers and informed them that they had mistakenly assumed that by engaging with LCC as a highways authority, that they had consent to a land transfer. You will see from my paper that before you that both Melton Borough Council and the developer were aware that the County Council owned land both as highway authority and separately other land in its own right, but neither made the leap to then contact us to discuss the disposal of this land, which is quite clearly required for the delivery of the housing scheme. So having analysed the scheme, looked at the reserve matters permission granted by Melton Borough Council in November, it was clear that both Melton Borough Council and the county own land required by the developer to access its permitted scheme. We've read the Cabinet report. We've read the reported figure that Melton have agreed with the developer for its land at something around £150,000. Our initial view is that this figure is significantly below what one might expect in a ransom situation for a 90 home scheme. Further, it does not take account of the second phase that the developer is considering, which is quite clear from the flood risk assessment that was submitted as part of its reserve matters application last year, when another 84 homes, which would also require access over the county and Melton's land. So as per the order paper, we'd like Cabinet approval to undertake full ransom valuations of our land and by consequence the Melton land, and then if an agreement can be reached with the developer over the true and full value of our land, that we then agree a disposal of that land. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, John, I'm happy to move those recommendations. When I read the papers, I think that this is incompetent advice that's been given to the elected members in hang on. Are you still? Can you hear me, everyone?
We can hear you, Nick. Leader.
Okay, thank you, because all the pictures went off. I think this results from incompetent advice provided by the Chief Executive and officers at Melton Borough Council to the elected members. And I think if we pass this recommendation and send our property guru up there to renegotiate this ransom value, it'll save their bacon. So I'm happy to move the recommendations and send him up there to see if we can sort it out for them, because they just don't seem to have the capacity to deal with things like this. Blake?
Yes, I tend to agree with you, Leader. Firstly, I find it unbelievable that any applicant or organisation can submit a planning application that involves a third-party piece of land without due and proper consideration with that third party as to the transition of that land. And furthermore, I find it even more amazing that a planning authority would permit planning consent with regards to an application that is in that situation. However, we recognise that this is proposing to establish new homes, and to that extent the County Council should be supportive of the types of homes and the homes that are being proposed, but not at any cost. We clearly have a legal duty to get best value from our own pieces of land, and to that extent I totally support the motion in that we should assess the true value of this land and enter into negotiation with the applicant and the developer to ensure that we do get best value from this land. Leader, I second the motion.
Yep, good points. I mean, you've hit the nail on the head. We do want to sell, we do want to facilitate housing, but we do want to get best value. I think I've got Byron, although my computer's playing up a bit. Byron, if it is you, go ahead.
Yes, it is me. I mean, I read this, first of all, when I was informed about it, it was with total incredulity. And then I read the report, which sets out the detail that John and his team have uncovered. The remarkable thing about it is that Melton has seemed to have been almost reckless in their approach to this, in not informing us, not working with us on this, and then don't seem to be concerned about the possibility they might be infringing the best value legislation as well, not just in respect of the consideration due to us, but also due to themselves. So anyway, it means we've caught it in time now, and it will be resolved. And well, the people in Melton may not be entirely happy with the outcome, but we'll have to see it through.
Thank you, Lee.
Yeah, just to say, totally support the recommendations in this item, and just suggest tongue in cheek that John takes his hard hat with him. So,
yes, well, he's a hard-nosed property man, so he'll be okay. Don't worry about him. Okay, so it was moved by me, seconded by young Blake. All in favour? Thank you. Good luck, John. Okay, everybody. So that brings to the end of the public part of this meeting. So I have to move the legislation. So I now move under section 100A of the Local Government Act 1972. The public be excluded for the following items of business on the grounds that it likely involves the likely disclosure of exempt information as defined in paragraphs 1, 2, 3 and 10 of Part 1 of Schedule 12A of the Act, and that in all circumstances of the case, the public interest in maintaining the exemption outweighs the public interest in disclosing the information. I move. Blake?
I'll second, Leader.
Can I show of hands, please? Thank you. So we're in confidential now, but we've just